And now we'll jump into part 2 of my conversation with Kyle. He'll take us into the corner during a fight where we'll get a rare glimpse and hear firsthand how he approaches those intense moments. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And now, Kyle in the corner. Here's the question I want to know, and I'm hoping a lot of you want to know this too. As a pro and amateur boxing trainer and pro and amateur MMA trainer, take me into the corner. What the hell goes on there? What do you say? What are you trying to do for the most part?
And boxing and MMA are similar and different. I can talk, I've worked a lot more boxing corners than MMA corners, but a lot of it's similar. To me, the night of the fight, the game plan's there, they're in great shape. You give technical advice on 1 or 2 things. You have 1 minute.
Right.
So if you got to have one voice in the corner. I see corners, I'm talking world title fights, where it's a fire drill in the corner. Usually if there's a father in the corner.
I've seen that,
yelling in the background, the other coach trying to call him. Not knocking, there's some very good father-son combinations. But if somebody's overly emotional, trying to talk over a coach, that's a problem. But in the corner, you're going to get up there. By the time you get, I'm always very aware of when it's ready. So when the round is about to end, I'm on all fours with the bucket, whatever I need to bring up there, ready to spring, because you have a minute. By the time you get up there and set that fighter down, you probably got 45 seconds. So being aware of when the round's going to end and ready to spring into action saves you a good 5-10 seconds. If there's a cut or anything like that, the cut man, I've done cuts, I have other people doing cuts, you let them get to work a little bit too. And at that point in time, it's just about giving 1 or 2 pieces of technical advice, calming them down. You don't want to come back to the corner and have chaos, like I said, yelling. Look, if I have to motivate somebody, the fighter needs to be yelled at, I can yell at them. That's not a problem, but it's not chaos. It's a controlled aggression, and look at me in the eye, this is what I need.
Ooh, I like that, controlled aggression.
Yeah, because you don't want that fighter going out for the next round more refreshed than they were before they come back. So you want to make sure that they're breathing. You don't want to argue in a corner. You can tell them a couple of things and motivate. Some people need a lot of motivation. Hey, remember this is going on. Whatever you need to use. Some fighters need it more than others. Teddy Atlas is famous for that. Other coaches, that motivating thing. And I think the night of the fight in the corner, calming them down, quick piece of advice, and then some kind of motivation, refreshing them, getting them back. That is, now sometimes you have to deal with other things like injuries, things of that nature. You have to take that as it comes, and that's just experience. So I think working as many corners as you can early on. When I was a young trainer, I'd be working, I also did cuts, so I was lucky enough where I would be at fights with my fighter, and a lot of the 4-round fighters come to fights with no corner man. If they have one corner man, a friend, they don't have a cut man and something like that, so they'll pick up cut men in the locker room. So I would just eat up whatever I could get. I didn't have these fighters. I go out and work cuts for these fighters. Now I wasn't the head trainer in that corner, but I was working the corner with other coaches and just get experience.
So you're part of a team, but you're not giving advice at that point.
Right. I would never be asked to work somebody else's corner as a cut man, interrupt the coach. Even if I know what they're doing is wrong, I mean, it's a really fine line. I wouldn't want to interrupt somebody who's there with a fighter to give my, unless I was asked. If I was asked, then I would do that. But this game is all about respect too between coaches. I'm not going to try to step on other coaches. It's a very unwritten rules about talking to other coaches' fighters, giving advice. I would only do that if I knew the other coach very well. Some of the other coaches in other gyms I know very well, I can go up and do that. It's understandable. I would never have a pro come into my gym to spar. After sparring, go take them to the side and tell them what they did wrong. Yeah, even if it was obvious, that's not my job, and I wouldn't do that. It's disrespectful. So that's, in the corner though, it's you don't have a lot of time. Refresh them, calm them down, motivate them, small technical advice, go back out.
Great. And I want you to talk very briefly about last fight and upcoming fight. So you brought me into the corner. Can you tell me a little bit about your last pro MMA fight, for example. Set the stage for us.
Yeah. The last promo for Cole Alexanian, who's a local pro. He's 2-1 as a pro right now. He also had 5 amateur boxing fights, so these guys do a lot of different stuff. He's a very good striker, which is why I like working with him. But we fought Mohegan Sun on a reality fighting card, which people in the MMA community will know reality fighting. It's a fairly well-known promoter. There's a lot of sub-promoters below the UFC, like a Bellator, Ring of Combat, reality. Again, some more prestigious than others, but they're all known, especially in the East Coast.
Yeah, but even though it's maybe a sub to the UFC.
They do big shows.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, Cole's last fight is probably around 6,000-7,000 people.
Whoa.
Good crowd. And he was fighting a kid who I believe was 4 or 5-0 as an amateur. MMA, they don't have as many amateur fights as they do in boxing. So 5 amateur MMA fights is like 25 in boxing. They turn pro much quicker. I think 5-0 as an amateur, 2-0 as a pro. Local kid from Connecticut. So, but we saw him fight. We thought we had a good shot. And Cole went out, and it was fun. One of those things where Cole always has so much potential, but to put it all together was the problem. And that fight, he really put it all together. Boxed beautiful, which is the game plan. Really outboxed the kid. And then he had one shaky moment where in the second round, he got caught, brought down, and the guy took his back for about 2.5 minutes and was trying to sink chokes in. And he had to fight off his back, fighting that off. That's something that a year prior he would have never got through. And he got through it beautiful. Even watching the fight over, and the announcers thought, I can say probably 4 or 5 times in a 2-minute span, they go, oh, it's over. It's over. He's not getting out of this.
How did, interrupt you for a moment, how did he respond to the crowd, if at all? Was that
Didn't bother him. I was worried, because I don't know how a lot of times, if we have a local fight in the area, I have an idea how the sales are going, how big a show it's going to be, because I talk to most. We're at Mohegan Sun, which is a nice arena. It's a casino. You assume you're going to have a crowd. We walked out. Every once in a while, during the locker room, we'll kind of peek at the crowd, and it kept getting bigger and bigger. I was like, this is a big crowd. He walked out, and he was like, yeah, this is great. It didn't intimidate him. He's also a Marine. He saw, he's overseas. He's been through some things. So
he's a combat
vet.
Yeah.
Yep. Very professional, calm under fire. That helps.
I just think it's interesting that you have this venue that probably for him and his experience in the ring was a big venue.
Yes.
And this whole idea that he needs to put it all together because he has the potential.
Yeah.
And the big crowd is there and he puts it all together. So I was just wondering if there was a...
Yeah, he did. And that's something that type of thing, some people freeze under those situations. Yeah. And he didn't. And that's why I'm really excited about the next one.
Which is?
Which is September 20th in Atlantic City. Against John O'Day, who is 3-1, and Cole's 2-1. I watched a little bit of video on him. I think it's going to be a really exciting fight. O'Day seems like the kind of guy that wants to fight, comes forward, throws hard shots, isn't overly technical, but is tough. He's also, I believe, a combat vet Marine. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure he is.
Okay.
So that's kind of interesting. I think it's going to make for a really good fight.
Great. And so you're sort of winding down the preparation with Cole for that fight because as we speak today, that fight is just days ahead of us.
Yeah, so this will be the last week of sparring.
Okay.
So we have this week, we'll spar, and then next week, which is fight week, will be more just sharpen up, stay healthy, consume energy, make the weight, which he'll make because he's disciplined. He'll make it, I won't say easily because it's not easy, but he's not starving himself to make weight. And he'll be strong and ready to go. I'm confident in this fight. I think he's going to fight really well.
That's great.
Yeah.
I've got one more question for you. I think it might be my favorite question too. I have to ask you.
Yep.
What's your juice, man? What drives you to do this every day, day in, day out, Sundays, holidays?
There's days I hate it. I'm not gonna lie. There's days I'm like, I'm done with this sport. I'm just doing the fitness.
Just boxing. Remember that patience that you were talking about earlier.
I know. There's days I'm doing the fitness, gonna make money and screw all this stuff. You know what I mean? I always say the guys and the girls who just run fitness, they know what they're doing. They don't want to deal with the fighters. The fighters nothing about pain. There are days like that.
I'm going to interrupt you for a quick second. We're going to talk more about fitness boxing because I'm going to ask Kyle to come back another time and we'll spend a little bit more time for those of you especially interested in just fitness boxing that don't want to take it to a combat level. I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go right ahead.
Yeah.
Your juice, man.
Yeah.
What drives you?
I got to be honest. The however many fight nights we have in a year is the fun part. The night of the fight. That's really just wrapping somebody up, bringing them out, executing a game plan.
You're excited for your fighter.
Exciting.
There's a whole thing going on here.
You're around your element. You're around. Usually, we've been around long enough. You're going to see coaches and fighters that you don't get to see too often. They're in a lot. You bump into people. It's a small community. So you could be in Phoenix, Arizona. You could be in Detroit, Michigan, Chicago, and wherever. And all of a sudden, they're like, hey, I haven't seen you in some time, and you just bump into people. And that's fun, the community of it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of sitting around between the weigh-in and the fight. So you BSing with people that you're talking about. It's a time to learn, too. That's fun. If that stopped being a lot of fun, I probably wouldn't do it because it's a lot of time. I'm working for minimum wage at the most with these guys. And so is almost every other boxing trainer.
It's a labor of love.
It's a labor of love.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make me stand out for most people because most of these coaches are doing that. They're successful coaches. But that's what drives me. Working with people that I respect and like. I don't care how good you are. If I don't like being in the gym every day, I don't want to work with you. And people might say, oh, well, look, if $1 million is at stake, then maybe we'll talk about it. But, I might be able to have a little more patience. But you're with these people every day. You're traveling with them. You're in a car ride with them for 4 hours. You're in a plane ride. You might be staying in a hotel room with them. You have to like them and get along with them. Especially on the lower level. Yeah, when you're fighting at the MGM Grand and you're making $10 million. Each fighter, the coach, they got their own rooms or suites. They don't, But when you're fighting a 4-rounder in York, Pennsylvania, we're in a 5-hour car ride together. They give us 2 rooms for 4 people. You're staying with somebody. You're all going to breakfast together because you got meal money because nobody's got any money in their pocket. So you have to be able to deal with these people and enjoy them and talk. And some you're going to like more than others. But if you can get along, just the mutual respect, that's the most important thing. Most of them you end up becoming close with. Yeah. The ones that last.
So if people want to get in touch with you, for example, you offer private lessons as well for individuals that just want to get better at fitness boxing even, right?
Absolutely.
So tell people how they can get in touch with you.
Best way, stop by the gym.
Once again.
Schott Boxing, 21 Vatrano Road in Albany. Call the gym, 518-641-9064. Or we're on Instagram and Facebook, social media, Schott Boxing. You can just shoot a message, and then we'll get back to you.
Okay, that's great. All right, Kyle, thanks a bunch, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you very much.
All right, that's a wrap.